Hello, and a warm welcome to Living the Dream French Riviera podcast, where we share inspiring stories of women who have relocated to the south of France and built meaningful, fulfilling careers along the way. I'm your host, Cecile Liconnet. Today I'm joined by Rachael, an osteopath who left London over 20 years ago to start a new life on the Riviera, just as her profession was being legalized in France. What began as a bold leap of faith soon became a remarkable journey of entrepreneurship, resilience, and opportunity. From opening her first clinic to building a thriving multidisciplinary practice serving an international clientele, Rachael has shown how determination and a touch of business flair can turn relocation into a true success story. Well, Rachael, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to hearing your story from starting your osteopathy practice here on the Riviera to traveling on board yachts and working in some of the most stunning places in the world. But before we dive into that, let's establish the context. When did you first arrive on the Riviera? Where were you coming from? And what was life like at the time?
Oh, hello. So I moved here October 2001, and it was very well planned to be October 2001 for a very specific reason. And the reason was that osteopathy had been illegal in France up until October 2001. So I was waiting for it to lose that illegality status, and I arrived 5 days after they made it legal. And I arrived from London, where I've been living for 10 years or so, although I'm from a small village in Buckinghamshire.
So what inspired you to move to France, to the south of France in the first place? Because you were already an osteopath, ready to move to France. Why France?
It wasn't necessarily France that I wanted to move to, I just wanted to move. And the reason was I lived in this lovely flat, 2-bedroom garden flat in Fulham. Wish I hadn't sold it, big regret. And I was looking out of my window, and it was a grey sky, a grey road and a grey house. And I was about 28, 29 or something at the time. And I thought, I just don't want to die in grey. And that was my whole reason for moving to the light, moving to somewhere sunnier. So I then thought, okay, well, with my osteopath qualification, I can pretty much be anywhere in Europe. So where would I like to go? And then I thought, what skills do I have? Well, I could speak French. So France was a really big pull for that. The other options for me at the time, I was thinking of Barcelona, because like here, it has the mountains and the sea. So Nice has like the mountains and the sea. Or the other option was Cornwall in the UK, which again has the sea. Funny enough, it's called the English Riviera. But then I thought, you know what, I can speak French. Let's go over and see.
2001 was a long time ago, but can you remember what were the initial cultural shock, or if you spoke French, maybe you already knew France, but did you have any initial cultural surprises when you arrived?
Well, so I'd kind of planned it because I had to plan it for the legislation change. So the year before, in the year 2000, I came into France and I spent 2 months here. 1 month just kind of like hanging out in the Var, in a place called Cotignac, and it was really lovely. And the second month I'd booked into the Institut Français in Villefranche-sur-Mer, because I knew if I was going to be coming, I would need that extra little bit of language skill. And actually at the Institut Français, they teach you a lot about the culture whilst they're teaching you. It's a great establishment, I have to say. And they teach you the language alongside the culture. So whilst for example, you know that each region has its own wine bottle shape, and French films come out on a Wednesday, whereas in England, the new releases come out on a Friday. And the reason for that in France is because the kids have the day off on the Wednesday, so you know it's the time to go to the cinema, whereas in England on a Friday everyone gets paid, so that's when they can afford to go to the cinema, which means there again that the VO films in English are usually on the Tuesday, because that's the least popular night, because everyone's waiting for the next release. So they teach you all these things while they're teaching you the language. And I'd had a French boyfriend or two back in London, so the culture thing wasn't actually a big shock at all. However, when you asked whether it was a shock, it wasn't a shock in another reason, is because I had a list of things that I had to do, and I knew I had to find an apartment, find a car, find a clinic, get my practice started, and I just switched off my emotions. So I wasn't shocked at all. I was literally like like on autopilot. I was like a little robot, and for the first like 4 or 5 months I had no feelings at all because I just had to function and get things done.
So you come here with your project full on, trying to make it happen. What about your qualifications? Did you manage to transfer them easily from the UK to France? Or?
Well, actually, I was really lucky because it'd only just been legalised, as I said, 5 days before. I went to the prefecture and I gave them my dossier of certificates, and they said to me, "Is this legal?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, it's just been legalised on the, I don't know what the date was, the 14th or 17th of October, whatever the date was at that time." And then they said, "Okay," and they just took my word for it, and they just stamped on my papers, and before I knew it, there you go, I'm registered and everything is fine. It is different now post-Brexit, and for people from the UK it's an awful lot harder to come through and get themselves registered on the French system. Even though there's not really like a general register like there is in the UK, where you can get struck off and there's amends and punishments and a big control of you and your ethics. In France, it's very much not at that level, and the qualification in the UK is still a much better qualification than in France. It's a 5-year course rather than the 3-year course. But still they're being very, very difficult, and I lost 2 osteopaths last year because they weren't registered, and they were Italian, so they were EU citizens, but because they'd done their course in the UK, they wouldn't register, even though they're on the General Osteopathic Council registration, which is the only register in Europe. And the French said no. It was just, and they were great osteos. We could have gone down the legal route and we would have succeeded, but it would have taken 2 years. If you get fined working as an osteopath without the registration, because it's done locally through the, it's called the ARS, we call it the ARS. So I'm actually registered with the ARS. If you're not registered with the ARS, then there's like a €350,000 fine if they catch you practicing illegally. However, since then, we've actually found a way around it, that you can work not as an osteopath, but an osteotherapist. I mean, you then have to pay your VAT, your TVA, because we're exempt, but osteotherapist wouldn't be exempt, but you can get insurance and everything. So it took us a good 18 months to actually work out there was a way around.
So let's go back to the start. You spend those 4 or 5 months sorting out your life, your clinic. Then you open your clinic. How do you get your first clients?
So I arrived in the October, pretty much open for business in the January, and I just networked like crazy. You know, I sent letters to all the English-speaking churches, social groups. Now, we didn't have the social media that we have today. We had much fewer choices, but that actually made it easier because everybody was looking at that one website, and the website was Anglo Info at the time, and that was pretty much kind of the Facebook of the day. So everybody would be connected to it. So a few adverts in there, it really, really helped. Once I got my first 1 or 2 patients, they would then tell other people, and that's kind of a lot of referrals. It came from that. But what I would do, I mean, literally, I'd be obviously open for business for the whole day, and I might have 3 patients for the whole day, but I'd put them one after the other so they all looked like it was getting really busy, and then I'd have like 8 hours of like doing nothing, just doing things like that. And it was just network. I was going out, meeting people, sending emails. I didn't really have a huge amount of money to advertise. I found out early on that Riviera Radio, they have this kind of what's on guide. And so I started very quickly a free Pilates, like a postural type of exercise. And I took over the judo club like one night a week for an hour. We'd get like 34 people or whatever maximum would turn. I mean, we'd have to have half the class standing, half the class sitting. But I could do that, and by doing that, I could advertise for free on Riviera Radio on their kind of community watch. And so they were saying, oh, the English osteopath's free Pilates classes, and so that got me a huge amount of awareness quite early on.
Had you realised from the start when you moved here how international this area was, or was it?
Yes, I did. That's why I came.
And did you, so you were the English osteopath from the start?
Yes.
That was your name from the start. Was it because then the international community knew that there would be somebody who could speak English where they were going, or because your English qualification would prevail to them?
Well, a mixture of both, but the main thing is the marketing. And so if I set up as the English osteopath in the UK, I mean, like, yeah, I'm like a needle in a haystack, hey, but here it sets me out different, and so it's easy for people to Google. If you're, you know, wanting an English doctor, you'd Google English doctor. If you wanted a plumber that spoke English, you'd Google English plumber. So I thought it would be really sensible to be called English osteopath. Plus also I never wanted my name on it, because if you as a practice owner have your name on it, everybody wants to come and see you because they think you're the best, even though I might be. And things, but I never wanted that, because it was always my intention to bring in other people.
So from the start you wanted to have a clinic bringing other people, all osteopath, or from the start you wanted other practitioner for?
From the start, multidisciplinary. I just wanted to see how it would just fall, really. I mean, it's a business. It's okay, I'm an osteopath, but osteopathy is my business, and I'm really interested in being a business person. And so I know that in order to make any money and to grow your business, you can't work in your business all the time. So it's always my intention not to be a one-man band. Because if you're a one-man band, you don't have a business, you're just working for yourself. But if you have other people, then you've actually got a business you can grow. It gives me lots of time to do lots of other different projects, which I do lots of other different projects, which make money and bring in other clients for all the others that work in the practice.
How long did it take you from opening your first clinic to expanding and having other people working for you and with you and doing other things?
Oh, good question. Do you know, I don't know if I can remember. I mean, it took a while to actually build it up where you can actually get a second person in, plus still retain enough clients for yourself, but you've got to get a second person, as they're not going to be French, because I didn't want a French trained osteopath, because it's a completely different type of osteopathy. It's a great osteopathy, but it's not the type of osteopathy that I do, which is very structural. So if I was going to have to bring somebody over from a different country and settle them here, then I'd have to have enough business for them. So I think it probably took about 5 years.
When did you feel that you were becoming very special, that your practice and your clinic was becoming really high-end and special?
Right from the start. Right from the start, a lot of the people down here, we're talking 25 years ago, were business people or working in Sofia, or they were the yacht owners, or they were here in their summer holidays in their huge big villas. The word got out, and also because I'm easy to Google. So right from the start, I was dealing with ultra high net worth people and famous people. It's really cool.
With your high-end clientele, are you ever asked for products or treatment that aren't available in France yet? And if so, how do you manage those requests?
Well, the main thing I have to always do is keep on the side of the law, the right side of the law. So if there's something that's not available which we can get, then we'll order it in for them for sure. At the moment, we're just struggling with IV drips, because one of the doctors in the clinic, he wants to do that, and it's not necessarily legal at the moment in France, although we do know other people are doing it, but we want to do it legally. So we're just kind of working through that and working our way around. There's lots of different ways. We're just trying different approaches just to see if we can do it legally. We will, and it's worth it for giving a great service to our clients. And obviously, as a business product, then we will do it.
So you have all these high-end clientele and going into yachts, and you've met famous people.
In their pants.
In their pants. And you're the English osteopath here on the Riviera. Do you feel this identity has opened doors that might not have existed otherwise?
Yes, in a way, because here I'm kind of special in the fact that working as an English-speaking osteopath in England is not very special. So yes, because there's so few of me, it definitely has, because I stand out for sure. I'm like the pioneer. Well, I'm really pleased it worked out that way, but it wasn't anything I really did myself. It was just that I was here the first.
So France was, in a way, a land of opportunity for you?
In that case, yes, because there wasn't another English osteopath in this area. In fact, I was the 5th English osteopath, or English-speaking from England osteopath, to come in France and work. So I was number 5, and I know 3 of the others. And now there's an awful lot more. So yes, that gave me that opportunity to be special in doing what I consider very normal job, which it wouldn't have happened in the UK. However, I take opportunities, I make opportunities, and I would have done it in any other country. But I love France, and it's worked out well here.
It was quite a leap of faith that you took, leaving the UK and come here, not knowing anybody, and starting your business. Any sleepless night along the way?
No, because I had a plan, and I'm very good at a to-do list and little check boxes. Look, you can see my book there. You see, I live off checklists. I had my plan. I switched my emotions off, and that's it. And I just got it done. And after a few months, it's like, yeah, this is great. Well, actually, after the second month, though, it was really good. The difficult thing was making friends, because I came here on my own, and I didn't work in a big company where I would automatically meet other people, and ethically I'm not allowed to ask my patients out for a drink. so it was really, really difficult to meet people, and I remember, oh my God, I had a few really disastrous evenings, which I'm sure I probably need therapy for. And, there was one, I was sitting in a bar, and this guy was talking to me about U-boat manoeuvres in the Second World War, whilst kind of spitting peanuts at me through the gap in his teeth. And I was just like, what have I come to? I used to have a great social life and loads of amazing friends, and then all of a sudden I was sitting in a bar being bored to death about U-boat manoeuvres in the Second World War. What I did do, and what my family did do, is they would come over, like every other weekend. I'd have somebody from the UK come over who I'd be able to go out with to bars and clubs, and the whole kind of point was to try to meet people. So, but that was really tough, because I come from a really social loads of friend groups, and then I was kind of here on my own, and nobody knew how lovely I was. And I was sitting in a place and watching all these other little friend groups, all having fun and laughter and enjoying the friendship of their company, and I was kind of sitting on my own saying, oh, please someone invite me over, I'm sure you'll like me.
Yeah, the culture is very different here. You don't go to the pub after work. If you see somebody sitting alone in a bar, you won't invite that person around,
No.
Which you would in the UK. You would talk to this
Absolutely,
person.
absolutely.
The friendliness is not the same here, is it? Yeah.
And I remember, and still, I meet most amazing, interesting people in my clinic, but I still can't ever be the one to say, hey, shall we, grab a coffee one day? You can't do that ethically. And I remember there was once I was with a patient, and the phone went, and I always answer the phone, anything, and they can answer the phone too, but we have a thing where we always answer the phone, we're very quick. And I was talking, and then I put the phone down, and my patient, who I absolutely always love seeing, she said, gosh, Rachel, she said, you're so friendly on the phone, everybody must think that you're their friend. And I said, well, sometimes you do meet people, and they do eventually become friends. And I said, and there's lots of patients that I love. I said, for example, when I see that your name is on my list, I love it, because I know that we're going to have a great chat. She goes, I said, oh, I'm so glad you feel the same. She goes, would you like to come out for lunch one day? And I said, oh, I'm so glad you asked, because I really can't ask. And since then, we've been friends ever since.
That's a lovely story. So looking back, what would you do differently, if anything?
One thing I would do differently is which I do now, which I didn't do at the start, is when I have other people working with me, I would put them on absolutely watertight contracts for whatever it is. Normally they come and they work as a professional independence, and I'd put them on a much better contract, which I do now, because I got really burnt.
Would you like to talk about this experience you went through, this difficult experience?
Yeah, I had an osteopath working with me, a young French guy, and he basically wanted money from me, and he wanted 50,000, and I like, no, obviously. He wanted me to pay all his tax and everything. I'm like, no, you do that. And then he said, oh, what about my pension? I'm like, well, you're independent, but I'm glad you're thinking about it because you're so young. This is what you speak to your accountant about. And then he came to me the next week and said, oh, you're in trouble. And I'm like, why? He says, you employ me. I'm like, no, I don't. You're self-employed. And then next week he came and he said, you need a lawyer. I thought, oh, God. So I found a lawyer and went through the whole of the Prud'homme thing. Obviously, I won because I had enough written down and enough evidence, and he never declared himself as a salaried, and I didn't pay any of his social charges, and it was obvious, and also there was lots of other things, and he was just lying a lot, and it all came out. That was a really horrible experience because there's me against a local homegrown boy, French, being a boy. I'm female, I'm a foreigner, and I'm the business owner. So, I thought, in France, it's very much kind of, like bash the rich type of thing, isn't it? Type of culture. And I thought being a foreigner, being female, being a business owner, they're just going to destroy me. And they didn't. And they were really fair. And I absolutely won. And it absolutely restored my faith in the French justice system for sure. But it took 2 years, and it started off really horribly because when you're in this situation, you just take it so personally. And I was going to bed at night thinking, oh, was there a text message or a WhatsApp that could make my case better, and you're trying to go through all your old phones and trying to think of who else could be on my support team, because I'm having to defend my rights, but I can't prove it in a way. I mean, I can't prove that I didn't employ him because I didn't employ him. I can't prove that I didn't pay him a salary because I didn't pay him a salary. It was very, very difficult. But the saving thing for me is that I'm a part of a mentor group, and at the time, it's a slightly different mentor group now, but at the time it was 4 women, all business owners, slightly different businesses, and we'd get together once a month and we'd bring in a problem. If anyone had a problem, then we'd all solve it from our own different perspectives, and it was super great. In fact, I always do mentoring, and still do. And one person said to me there, because I was just like, beside myself, and they said, Rachel, look at this as a continual professional development course. Because at the end of this process, first of all, you're going to win because you're right. You have the right. And I'm like, yeah, I will. Well, I hope I do. Secondly, it's not going to cost you money because the Prud'homme only costs maximum 3,000, plus I have insurance for that anyhow. She goes, thirdly, you're going to make a really good contact with a lawyer, which I did. And she says, and fourthly, at the end of the day, you are going to have everybody on the right contracts. And it's true. And she said, and for €3,000, that's a really good continual professional development course. So the upshot of this is that now, and the things that I would do differently is I would right from the start have them on absolutely watertight contracts. And it's worth paying an employment lawyer to actually, if you are doing that, to actually get it done properly, which I didn't do. And that if I'd done that, this guy wouldn't have had any sort of like chink to get to me.
This is something that applies to any business.
Absolutely.
Really.
Absolutely.
You're quite good with business. I mean, you're not simply a trained osteopath, but coming here, developing the clinic, developing everything, not being just one self-employed person, is not something common that you see commonly. Is this that, did you train as a business person, or business is something natural for you? Do you come from a business-oriented family? How do you explain this?
Well, thank you for picking up on that. I appreciate that, because that's how I like to see myself. I'm really good at selling. And I think for that type of thing, I'm selling my product. The university courses I did were not in business, but I'll give you an example. When I was young, my mum used to make us go to the hospital to talk to old people who were lonely. And I kind of realised that after I'd eaten all their chocolates, they were really bored. And they all loved to knit, these people of a previous 2 or 3 generations ago. And at the time, it was really fashionable to have home knitted jumpers. And so I worked out that my friends at school, they could pay to have a jumper knitted for them, you know, and they'd like that. And I was probably about, no, I was probably in secondary, I was probably about 12 at the time. And so I'd buy the wool, we'd find out what pattern they wanted. And these ladies in hospital, they would knit a jumper in a day. I mean, but they were so pleased to actually have something to do. Then I'd sell it on. And, you know, I was making, you know, a little pound here, £1.50 there. And so I was doing business, and I was always kind of buying and selling. And when I was at university, one of the universities, I realised that everybody was complaining because the food in the communal fridge, in the communal kitchen, was being eaten by other people. So we found these little small fridges, and they were always for sale at auction sites. So me and a friend would go to the local auction, bid on them, and then charge which would get them for not much. And then we'd sell them back to the students. They'd all have little fridges in their rooms, you know. So we were always kind of like buying and selling. And I think this is just an extension of that.
But every time it was not business to do business. You were solving a problem and helping people.
Yeah, and for me, that's the thing. I mean, when people say, "Oh, you know, my business is really struggling," it's like, well, you're not in the right business. You've got to find what people want and then deliver it. It's that simple. And before I came down here, I'd come down obviously the year before, and I was going around places, and I went to Heidi's English bookshop in Antibes, it was then. And I went and I said, "Oh, hi," I said, "I'm thinking of moving down here." You could see the eyes roll up, which I didn't get at the time, but now I know. Oh, another one, another dreamer. And she said, "Oh, yes, yeah, what do I do?" I said, "I'm an osteopath." She goes, "Oh, we haven't got one of those." And I thought, oh, okay. You've got to find what people want, and then you evolve your business around it. You can't have your business idea and then try to find the clients. For me, it's always client-led, no matter what you're doing. So at the moment, I'm writing a book, and I'm writing it because I needed to read this book, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for something like this to come out, and it hasn't come out. And I thought, well, for God's sake, I can write it, so I'm writing it.
When do we get to read it?
You get to read it and also hopefully view it, because it's actually a workshop, what I'm writing about. So at the moment, it's called Wean from the Screen, and it's all about taking back some control of your screen time. And so the idea, it's a workshop, so actually you have to go through processes with, you know, writing out things, drawing things, whatever, in order to get to your end result, which will be your blueprint for how you take that, the things that you've learned, how you take that forward. And it's obviously very bespoke in a way, because your one will be different from somebody else's, what actually fits in your life and what will actually work, just some little rules in place. Once it's written, so I'm actually writing it and it's almost finished, and then I'll be videoing it. So you can either watch it and press pause and play to actually do the little workshop activities, or you can read it. It works best with families in a family unit, because it's a family approach in a way, or it's a household approach, because you can't sort of manage your screen times if everybody else is kind of like just stuck with their, you know, face in their hand in their face, as it were, which is what the position is with the screens. So you have to it gives families or household groups, or even in office groups, it gives you the space to actually think, hang on a moment, we've got all this amazing technology here. Are we using it, or is it using us? And at the moment, it's using us. It's keeping us, you know, the algorithms, it's keeping you on the screen longer than you intend to do. It's stealing your time. And it's so clever, we can't stop it from doing that, but we can try to put some things in place so we manage it a lot better. And I'm going to give you a really, really, really interesting fact here. We will all, I tell you, guaranteed, everybody has at least an hour stolen from them a day, from unintentional. You go on your phone to look at the train. It's a strike day today. Vive la France. We go to look at what train is working today, and we have that intention. Use what the technology is there for. Absolutely fine. And then before we know it, we're doom scrolling. We've got something else that's just popped up, which they know we like, you know, So we encourage together. And before you know it, there's 10 minutes gone. And you count, or at least you count all this up during the day. If you want to be intentionally distracted, that's fine. going to give myself half an hour, just just wind down, whatever. But if you're not intentionally doing it, it's stolen time. So let's say it's an hour a day. That's 365 hours of your functioning time a year. Now imagine you've got 10 hours a day when you are properly functioning, doing stuff like we're doing right now, or, not eating, cooking, buying food, but just living and working and doing your hobbies, whatever. So let's say you're awake good 10 hours a day for doing that. 365 hours results to 36 and a half days, which is of us being fully functioning, awake and ready to produce or to do anything. Now that's just on 1 hour a day. If it's 2 hours a day that these phones and screens are stealing, which they are, that's 70 plus days a year. So when people say they haven't got any time, we don't have time these days because all our time is being stolen unintentionally from us. So that's what I'm doing it for.
You probably see the effect on the body.
Absolutely.
As an osteopath.
Well, I tell you how it started. I had this little baby girl, which is actually, I write about it in the book on the first chapter. I had this lovely little 14-month-old baby girl. Little 14-month-old babies are the worst patients, one of two worst patients in the world, because all they want to do is sit up at that age. And I want them lying down. She had glue ear, and we needed a bit of cranial osteopathy, which I knew, I hoped it would work, and it did. So I said to the mum, can you bring in something to distract her? Because we want her lying down flat. Pretty standard. Mum brought in an iPad. Okay, iPad, right above this little baby's head. Monotonous farmyard, repetitive music, which was, after the 18th time was like about to get a sledgehammer. Anyhow, it transfixed this little baby. It transfixed her so much she hardly blinked. She didn't even twitch her fingers. She was catatonic, lying down on my table, and great for me. I got all the work done really quickly, painlessly, whatever, and it worked. But I thought, well, if that from that iPad is going into her brain and absolutely physically changing her, then it's doing the same to me. Now, I'm more mature, my brain's more mature, I can combat that, but it's still going in. I combat it a bit, it's still going in. So that's when I started initially doing the research on this. And then obviously being a user of phones and screens and iPads and things, and you realise how much they've insidiously crept into our lives, and not always for the good things. There's a lot of times where where people these days, we can't sit still. We can't just sit and be. We always have to have your phone is always a metre away from you. So that's the physical manifestations of phone use, obviously from all the distractions it causes, for sure. And for children, it's really dangerous, I think. Well, I know now because I've done the research, or I've looked at other people's research. But also the other thing is we're getting, because kids now have phones and stuff right from an early age, their bodies aren't developed. The little bone that you have right at the top of your neck here is the only bone that actually has connects your very heavy head onto the rest of your body, and it's the smallest vertebra that you have, and that's where all the pressure is. And by looking down at that angle, looking at a phone, it's the equivalent of having sort of like a 9-year-old sitting on your neck, like 23 kilos, sitting on the back of your neck, and that causes an awful lot of strain. In adults, it's bad enough, but for kids, it's really bad because their body hasn't developed. They don't have the same sort of strength in their muscles. And as an osteopath, it's great for business, hey? I mean, it's heating my pool. But for kids, it's not great because they are going to be in their late 20s, 30s and 40s. They're going to be going to an osteo or chiropractor once or twice a month.
So we've talked about the osteopathy, the book you're writing. I believe you have other projects. You do some charity work. Would you like to say a little bit about this?
Sure. So I'm on the committee and a medic for a charity called Supporting Wounded Veterans. So we support wounded veterans, and these are mainly UK veterans, but we do others from other countries. And what we do is we find the ones that aren't thriving, that they've been medically discharged and they're not, really in civilian life yet. So they're really struggling. These are the ones who have attempted suicide, thankfully unsuccessfully. And we get them and there's a few who are physically injured as well. But mainly a lot of the physical injuries they've all healed and people have kind of got on with their life now, and there's a lot of support for a visible injury. A hidden injury like PTSD is really tough, to have it, but also for the people around you. And so we take these guys and girls, we take them skiing just to put them in like a army type or forces type squadron group again, give them a high adrenaline activity up in the restorative mountains in Switzerland. And then once they get to know us, which they do over the week, when they come back down to the UK, we give them a mentor who checks in with them every week. So, and that's where the magic happens for sure, by getting them and supporting them in doing what they think that they could do, and we help them with a bigger network as well. And it's amazing. We see the changes in people, and once you help one person, so let's say you've got a really good family and one person is kind of broken, and once you help that one person, but you're then helping all the brothers and sisters, you're helping the parents and the grandparents, you're helping the cousins, because they don't have to worry so much about that one person who is really, really, really struggling. So it's an amazing charity.
Is it something you started once you were in France?
It was actually when I was in France, but it was through a UK contact. And the UK contact is the person who set up the charity. And I'd just done another charity event for another organisation. I just helped and supported them in their medical things, again for wounded veterans. And this person said, look, Gilly's doing this, phone her up and find out what she's doing. So I phoned, Gilly, what are you up to? She goes, well, I'm thinking of setting up this. And I said, okay, well, I've just, gone over the Alps with, I don't know how many people there were, 60 people or something on bicycles, and I was the medic support for that. We had a few wounded veterans. If you want me to tell you what we did, so you can put that in place, because there were some very specific things that we needed to do. She's like, oh, I hadn't even thought of having a medic team. I said, well, I can help telling you what. Rachel, can you do it? And okay, all right. And there you go. So I'm on the committee now. So I feel very important sometimes.
Do you feel this has opened doors or met people you wouldn't have met otherwise?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I could advise lots of things, one of the things I would advise is to get involved with a charity. The networking in this charity is off the scale. It's unbelievable, because, well, I'm talking about UK charities here. I mean, I actually did set up a charity here in France as well. But in the UK, the people that have the time and the money and the things like this for charity are all the kind of titled people, or people who are so successful they retired early. And so once you're accessing also into them and their friendships and their networks, it's very, very, very beneficial for your own network if ever you need to use it, because you become a trusted person.
Do you feel charity is not the same in France? Like, people don't invest as much of their time and money and volunteer in France?
People can't see this, but you're laughing too, because we absolutely know it's so. I mean, I'm sitting here shaking my head. People in France I think, from my experience, have a completely different attitude. In England, if you set up a charity, everyone's like, yeah, all right, here's a £5, or what's it for? In France, it seems to me to be like, well, if we do that, then the government will stop supporting them even more. If you then support them, it will give the government a reason not to do it. So they actually feel it's beneficial to not support the charity rather than to support the charity, if you understand what I'm saying there. Whereas, so I find it an absolute difference in just the general public.
And with the charity you've set up yourself, do you manage to get funds and people to give you to participate, to volunteer?
Well, it's an association de loi here. So I co-founded it with some other osteopaths, and the idea was that we weren't seeing enough. Well, I'll tell you how this came about, and this is another business thing, is French people may not be the most forgiving when people do and set up in their area. So I got an awful lot of trouble from other osteopaths. When I say I get denounced all the time. I've had 3 tax investigations Yeah, I've had my sign ripped off my clinic more than once, and then the last time they actually got a little waste paper bin, a little cheap one, ripped my sign. I was only getting cheap signs, I wasn't getting the brass signs. So they ripped the sign off and actually put it in the bin outside my clinic. Okay, so I thought, right, it's so frustrating because the reason at the time is, as you said, you're the English osteopath, and you see all the people on the yachts. The people on the yachts were the ones who were paying cash. So obviously, I set up. People came to me, and they are the kind of the high value clients that some French osteopaths wanted, because they would obviously pay cash, and obviously they were coming to me. And yeah, I didn't realise that I upset quite a few people. So I thought, well, what do I do? How do I fight against this whole community of osteopaths? Well, not the whole, but some people who absolutely resented me. And so I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll see if other people, there's a few of them that are really lovely. And so we set up a little group, and then from that to do continual professional development, which you don't have to do in France, but we have to do in the UK, to do that. And then from that, it was like, we're not seeing enough babies and things like that. So let's go for the families from modest incomes, and we'll offer it for free. So that's what we did. And so we did it initially in Kidouland, and they gave us a space for free, just like once a month or something. And we did it on rota, so we always have 3 or 4 people there. And then actually we do it with the Red Cross and the Resto du Coeur. So I was the president of one, obviously. President in France, you always have to have these big titles. And so I was doing that, and it was a vote for the regional newspapers, like the Nice Matin, they're around every region, and it was for the Woman of the Year, that vote, the femme whatever. And so I was voted, and I won. And okay, here's my big confession. I'd like to say I won because everybody in this area knows about me, but it wasn't at all. It's the fact that I have thousands and thousands of people on my data, okay, from my patients. And so when the vote was in, because it was like a vote in the newspaper, I emailed everybody, pressed a button, and thousands of people could vote for me. So I had the best network, and at the end, and I obviously was flown up to Paris and got an award. And for the remarkable woman, I think it was, Femme Remarquable. And they said to me, gosh, you got more votes than like anybody else has ever got in the competition. I thought, oh, that's my fabulous international clientele that just supported me on that one, so thank you for that. So what I did was, in order for the French osteopaths to like me, I set up this continual professional development sort of meetings, and then from that, this charity came, and I'm not part of it anymore. I mean, I'm too busy doing others, and lots of young local osteopaths are involved in that, and it's growing. It's in like 2 or 3 different locations down here now, and we just offer free osteopathic care for those sent to us by the Red Cross and the Resto du Coeur.
And are less osteopaths angry at you now? Do you keep your sign in front of you?
I think they realised they couldn't scare me and stuff. So
Is there a defining moment when you thought, yes, I've made it?
There's a few, actually. I think when I opened my second clinic, and I had the welcome party. Oh, and the opening party for that, one of the banks wanted to sponsor me for free and pay for all the wine. I'm like, I must have made it if a bank wants to give me money. It was kind of the Monaco clinic, so I think they were looking obviously for business, but it was like, oh my God, I was so pleased for that. When I was asked, they did this thing on Riviera Radio a few years ago where they just had 1 week and they just asked 4 or 5 people to come and co-present, and I co-presented the breakfast show, and which I know that you listened to, and I loved doing it. I was so nervous. And then I did it, and literally at the end, when it's 10 o'clock and it's finished, because you're kind of, the adrenaline is so high, and you don't realize how much these presenters, how much they work during the show. And then I went to get up out of my seat, and my whole body was trembling, like my legs were like jelly. I thought, oh my God, it was so frightening, really. But I kind of loved doing that. Another time, when the British Embassy in Marseille phoned me and invited me to Christian Estrose's cocktail party. There was only, I think, like 50 or so people invited with a plus one. Charles and Camilla, at the time Prince of Wales, and the Duchess of Cornwall, thank you. When they came, and yeah, so I was invited to that. That was quite a splendid affair, and I thought, oh my goodness, I must have made it if the British Embassy know about me.
What advice would you give to someone wanting to launch a practice of service-based business here?
Integrity would be my first thing. Is you've got to be yourself. You can't be somebody else, obviously. You've got to be honest. You can't be greedy. You've got to give a good service.
Is service something that you brought from the UK? What's your view on service in France?
That's another charity question, isn't it? Let's just say I think it's got better, because it couldn't have got worse, could it? Yeah, I mean, look, I once bought some paint from Castorama, massive global, well it is, it's part of the Kingfisher Group, isn't it? A company, and you would have thought that they would, have trained their staff. So it was one of those ones where it was a special colour, so they put it in that machine and put different colours in it, shake it all up. And I needed an extra bit, so I was painting over the bit I'd painted, and it's like, well, this looks a different colour, but I'll wait for it to dry because, obviously it might dry different. It didn't. So I've got a wall painted half one colour and half this other colour, which should have been the same colour. So I took the paint tin back to the shop and I said, look, I'm so sorry, but when you gave me this, the red must have run out or something, and it's a different colour. And the person said, well, it wasn't me. And I was like, I know it wasn't you. When I say you, I mean the global Castorama. You're the face of and they take things so personally. And it's just like, and so now I'm a bit quite horrible actually. And I go into places when I have someone to complain and say, I know it's not you, but when I say you, I mean you as in the business. And I repeat that like 3 or 4 times until it, because I don't want to offend people. But I feel that, that they take things too personally. Whereas in the UK, we'll have said, oh, I'm really sorry, love, here's this, and here's probably, here's a free paintbrush or something for, your inconvenience. Plus, I now have to repaint all the bit that I overpainted, so I now need more paint. Anyhow, I could talk about horrible French service. Well, it's not horrible French service, it's just uneducated, maybe, unprofessional French service. And it's the biggest difference.
Before we wrap up, let's talk about the Riviera life today. For so many people, the Riviera is imagined as pure sunshine and glamour. What's the reality for you? How does your day-to-day life look here compared to what people might imagine? Is it as glamorous as people imagine?
I think it is. Honestly, I think it is. I mean, it's just so beautiful here. For me, it's not about the sunshine. It's about the light. So it's like in the UK, in the winter, it's very dark and gloomy a lot of times, and here it's not. And I swim all year round. We've got a group which we swim every Sunday, probably usually, all the way through the winter. We get cold, it's lovely, and you always feel amazing when you come out. We've got beautiful beaches. I've got amazing friends. Look, I've been invited on a yacht for drinks tonight with the owner. Well, they said, would you like to go on the yacht or would you like to meet in town? I'm like, hell, baby, I'm on your yacht. I get clients that fly me in private jets. Yeah, I get clients that on big strike days will get a helicopter to pick me up, to take me to Monaco, so I don't have to spend, extra time in the traffic. That's pretty glamorous. I mean, that didn't happen in the UK.
So do you ever feel like you're living the dream, or is it mostly hard work behind the scene?
Oh, it's totally not hard work. It's totally living the dream.
So you've managed to never work a day in your life by doing something that you never get bored of?
Absolutely. I've got my work schedule down now. I'm actually only in clinic twice a week. So it's 1 day in one clinic and half a day in the other clinic. I get time to do everything else that I want to do. I mean, I'm working a lot on my business when I'm not in my business, for sure. People at my age now, we're all talking about retirement. And I'm like, what am I retiring from? I love doing what I do. I could do, as long as my body, survives, I could do this. I love doing what I do. With an osteopath, you get somebody who's been in pain for a long time, and within sort of like 15 minutes, they smile at you, and then you know, yeah, they believe what you're doing and they can see it's making a difference. And I get that kind of validation, which is great for an ego, really. I get it like every half an hour or every 40 minutes. And so I love doing what I do. If I can help people and do that, and I get instant reward in a way, I mean, I love it. So yeah, so I'm not working.
So you must know the Riviera quite well now. You've been everywhere. What's the most iconic place in your opinion?
Well, because I get so stressed out in the summer because of the heat and so many people around, I like little secluded little beaches that I know on the Cap. So there's a couple of little places I go to where very few other people know. And we just take a little shade and a little sunshade and a little picnic. And for me, that's the lovely bit. So you're on the Cap d'Antibes, you're literally on a little pebble beach in a little cove, and that's when I think, oh yeah, this is the French Riviera.
So your hidden gem is at the same time iconic.
Yeah, for me. Yeah. For me. Although I have to say one thing. There's a book called. Have you read the book Riviera Set?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's so good. It's about this American woman who's an amazing businesswoman, and then she was living in England. And then she came to France, down here between Golfe-Juan and Cannes, and she built this place literally the other side of the railway tracks. So that's the one with the little bridge going over, and it's a big house, and she had. Oh my goodness, she had Winston Churchill there, she had Noel Coward there, she had the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, that's Edward and Wallis Simpson, and she had all of these people, the Aga Khan, Ali Khan, Rita Hayworth, and they would all come, and they just had these most amazing summers down there. Now, it's now obviously, this was in the 1920s, 1930s, now it's owned by a different family, and I spent a lot of time there in this summer, and it's huge. I mean, there's bodyguards everywhere, and oh, it's amazing. But to be on that terrace where Winston Churchill and Noel Coward were playing backgammon, and I was thinking, oh my God, they had the same view exactly as what I could see now. And for me, that was totally iconic, because a whole book had been written about this house, and nobody gets to go in this house who's not part of the family. And I was there so many times this summer, and it thrilled me. And they were really, really nice to me there as well. So that's even better.
It's one of those special moments.
Oh, it was a special thing that, again, being an osteo and doing what I do, you get invited to these places, and it was just like, I mean, I've never been invited otherwise. Never. Nothing. Don't know anybody in that set at all. But it was amazing.
You've met some incredible people. You've been to incredible places. I believe you have a little list of people you want to be in the same room with. Have you achieved that?
So I still have a list. I've everybody that I've wanted to treat. I've treated apart from 3. There's 3, and it's all based on anatomy. I'm an anatomist, and my top 3 are David Beckham, Lenny Kravitz, and Lewis Hamilton. So I know where Lewis Hamilton lives, and I get to go to his apartment block in Monaco a lot, because I've got a lot of other clients there. And I kind of, I just feel so embarrassed about what I do, but I kind of hang out around the lifts as long as I can before they chuck me out, before the concierge chuck me out, just in case that Lewis Hamilton's going to walk through the lift's door. I'm so sad. And everybody I know in that building, I'm like, do you know Lewis Hamilton? Just in case that they're his friends and they can give him my card. David Beckham, I work a lot, or I haven't for a while, but because they kind of moved, but his management team and things. So he was never there at the house when I was there, but everybody says very, very good things about him. And the reason of him is he's got this. It's the muscle on your side, it's called serratus anterior, and when he was, pro footballer, he just had the best. And it was kind of like all of us osteos were like, oh, David Beckham, serratus anterior, oh God, I would. and my third one is Lenny Kravitz, being the coolest dude ever with the best body. I mean, his torso is just amazing. And I kind of got an in on there this summer. I was working with some people got called up, as we always do, for the people that are doing the artists in Monaco, and it was a band called Santana. And so I was with them for like 3 days, and it was totally lovely. Super nice people. And one of the people there was working with Lenny Kravitz before they joined Santana. So I'm with them, I'm like, what, do you know Lenny Kravitz? And they're like, yeah, he's a friend. I'm like, oh my God. I said, he comes to Monaco like 2 or 3 times every like 5 years. I said, and they've never called me for him. I said, could you ask him next time he comes to give me a call? I mean, yeah, of course I'd like to treat him, but it's mainly for bragging rights. So, you know, if I could be with Lenny Kravitz, obviously with his shirt off because I'm an osteo, in a room, I mean, every osteopath over the age of 45 is going to be jealous of me, and that's kind of what I want it for. So come on, Lenny, if you're listening, call me.
We never know. What do you see as the future of the region's business and cultural landscape?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it depends on the local mayor and obviously what's going on in government. We're missing our Russians, I have to say. My business is really missing Russians now. A lot of people are. The boats are getting bigger, for sure. The Sophia Antipolis is growing. More and more people are coming over. I think it's in the 24 years I've been here, it's become a lot more anglicised for sure. There's so much opportunity. We've got great social networks, so it's even easier to, you know, find maybe a niche or some people to market your business to. I think I'll be pretty optimistic. Yeah, there's taxes. Yeah, there's hidden charges. Yeah, you have to go through the bureaucracy, but you know, look, that's what you pay your money for. You get an accountant. You get people to set you up and do all that. But I think I'm quite hopeful, for sure.
Wonderful. Rachel, thank you for sharing your journey with us today. Your story is a wonderful reminder of how bold choices can open new opportunities. Thank you.
You're welcome. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, me too. Rachel's stories is a wonderful reminder that with courage, focus, and a clear sense of purpose, it's possible to live a fulfilling professional life and still live the dream. You can find more about Rachel and other inspiring women building meaningful lives on the Riviera on our website, livingthedreampodcast.com. And if you'd like to support my work, you'll also find a link there to help me keep creating new episodes of Living the Dream. A heartfelt thank you to Claire Long, whose music adds warmth and emotion to every episode. I'm Cecile Liconnet, and this has been Living the Dream French Riviera podcast. À bientôt!